Redemption comes in small packages. When we hear the word redemption, we think of grand biblical events, the splitting of the Red Sea, the coming of the Messiah when the wolf will lie down with the lamb. But if we have that mindset, we will very often overlook significant moments of redemption. In the upcoming Torah reading, we're told about the death of Sarah, the matriarch of the Jewish people. And her husband Abraham has to go out and buy for her a burial plot. And it takes up nearly a chapter of the Bible, the negotiations over buying the burial plot. And many of the commentaries try to understand, why do I need an entire chapter of the Torah to describe the acquisition of a burial plot? Now, the commentary of Avraham ibn Ezra offers a fascinating but rather perplexing comment. He says that the purpose of this chapter is to teach us that God had promised Avraham that the land of Israel would be his, and when he bought the burial plot for Sarah, that promise came true. Now, others look at this and say this is absurd. He was promised an entire country, and here, only after great struggle and much difficulty, does he even get one plot of land. How can you say that is the fulfillment of the promise? But in actuality, Ibn Ezra gets it right. From the perspective of history, that acquisition is a turning point. It is the first time that the Jewish people have a foothold in the land of Israel. And for generations, we will continue to go back to that burial plot, to visit our ancestors who are buried there, and to recognize that our history in the land of Israel goes back nearly 3,800 years. Ibn Ezra is correct. Even at this moment, which is a moment of pain and bereavement, it is a moment in which Avram had every reason to be frustrated and disappointed. At this moment, redemption arrives. It arrives in the very pathetic and small package of a burial plot, but it is actually a turning point in history. In my previous synagogue, I had a woman whose name was Rose, who was a survivor of the Holocaust. At the end of the war, she was in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, and she managed to smuggle enough wax or enough of a candle and a match to light a makeshift Shabbat candle one Friday night. And so that's what she did. She was not the only woman during the Holocaust who did that, but she lit this candle. Years after the Holocaust was over, she made a trip to Israel, and she was in a restaurant, and there's a waitress that's walking over to her table, and the waitress collapses at her table. When they finally revive the waitress, they turn to the waitress and they say, "What's going on?" And she looks at Rose and she says, "I was in the same barrack when you lit that candle. I had planned that night to commit suicide. I had learned that my entire family had died. I saw no reason to live. And then you lit that candle, and in me it inspired something to make me want to live on." And I think about this story because this story is a classic example of redemption coming in a small package. Here, at a moment of great darkness, just one candle makes enough of a difference. Just one candle turns an entire life around. And the lesson we need, both on good days and on bad, is that redemption very often comes in small packages.